Hello everyone, this is update for March 15, 2023, day 385 of the war, end of the date update. This is also catch-up update for March 13 and 14. So first, let's discuss sort of strategic events that's happening, and probably everyone have seen or have heard about U.S. Military drone shot down 60-kilometer west of Sebastopol. It's MQ-9 Reaper. So the importance of this is not even so much as it's going to be a war or not. I don't think the war is coming, let's say, soon or anytime soon, hopefully. Just because the leadership in the U.S. is not, let's say, it's not there to start the war. But the importance actually of this is that it shows that what, let's say, US has in the West in general is um, weapons that are completely like wrong for this kind of a real war. That all of those weapons, they are designed for attacking someone in a desert in Syria with AK, uh, or someone in Afghanistan, but they're not really designed to fight like true real army or air force. And I'm just talking about army just broadly. And this is a MQ-9 is there's no difference with Bayraktar. All of this UAV, they extremely slow, easily destroyable, and cost a fortune. So basically, it's a worst idea ever for this kind of war. So, but again, they probably were sort of helpful, useful for the war, against some small groups of people, but not, war where you have sort of true military. So this is the importance that again, this also means that huge amount of money wasted, huge chunk of weapons are essentially useless. I mean, there's some obviously utility, and you can squeeze it, something out of pretty much anything, but relative to investment, this was a big malinvestment. Let's put it this way. Then let's talk a little bit about this alliance of China, Russia, Iran. So I mentioned before that China had a huge diplomatic success in the Persian Gulf. They now consolidating their power, and so what they did is first, as a result of this agreement, again you can call peace agreement between Saudi Arabia and Iran, the war in Yemen stopped. So Yemen, there's no more fighting between Yemen and Saudi Arabia and inside of Yemen, because Yemen was Iran proxy. For those who didn't know, it's essentially a puppet regime that sort of acts on behalf of Iran, and Iran doesn't want to directly attack Saudi Arabia, so it attacks it through Yemen. So this is kind of how it works. So now that whole thing stopped, and this is obviously thanks to China. And now to solidify its hold on this region, China, Russia, and Iran, they doing um, joint navy drills in the Gulf of Oman. So basically, this is exit from the Persian Gulf, and it shows that who controls that exit essentially controls the flow of crude oil and natural gas out of the Persian Gulf. So essentially, it's in a way kind of like a sign to the West. Okay, now we probably controlling, uh, energy supply from the Persian Gulf, not only sort of diplomatically, but also uh, military wise, if needed. Let's put it this way. There's no immediate confrontation or anything like that, but this is what's going on. And again, this actually I want to highlight this relative to how this whole thing is presented um, in the U.S. in internal U.S. politics, completely misguided, because there is separation between Russia and China, and let's not confront. Well, I would say some portions of it is let's not confront Russia. Let's have a peace with Russia, and then let's confront China. Well, the reality of it, it's one thing. You cannot, so let's say, close your eyes and not see the whole thing. And they how to say, act in unison, and this is alliance. Yeah, it's probably not sort of perfect alliance. It's not nothing is perfect, but it's formidable and real alliance that needs to be sort of reckoned with. Now let's switch to Ukraine. So uh, let's actually jump right away to the front line, and then I'll kind of discuss general items when we go through the front line. So I'm gonna do it in a clockwise fashion, starting from the north and then going down south, and then towards west. So the situation along the state border is more or less the same. There is exchange of artillery fire, rocket fire, basically all sort of exchange of all sorts of attacks against each other, meaning not sort of with army, but all of the artillery, rockets, and so on. Then let's jump to the North Lugansk front line. Things here relatively quiet. It's just a sort of temporary quietness. But for now, it's relatively quiet here. It looks like less and less that this is going to be sort of major, battlefield or area where both sides are going to be seeking decisive victory. Now let's look at North Donbass front line, where things are, let's say, not at least not great for Ukrainian side. And as I discussed before, it's thanks to Wagner mercenaries, to the organization, much superior organization. It's extremely entrepreneurial, common sense, and as long as they exist in that way, they will be, beating any Soviet army. And Ukrainian army is a Soviet army right now, the same as Russian army. So this is a situation, as you can see, they made new gains, captured Zaliznyanske, this village here. This, nothing sort of immediate here in terms of like immediate sort of crash or danger. It's basically expanding this bridgehead, making it more solid, and sort of creating opportunities for the future, essentially. So this also means that, they will be able to faster push towards this channel here, and then probably also this Vasyukivka now in big question. So, but as a result, as you can see, they sort of eventually this probably will get sort of the line where I'm showing, or maybe something like this, and then this whole area becomes on its own huge salient, and you can basically attack from Nikiforivka to Kryva Luka and essentially try to squeeze Ukrainian troops out of here. So, but this is sort of very, very distant future. I'm just more sort of talking in general. So again, this is advance here. Nothing sort of critical, not sort of strategic, but just another stepping stone in worsening of Ukrainian situation in this area overall. Having said that, Wagner mercenaries are superior to Soviet army, which is Ukrainian army. They are not sort of unbeatable, or how some trying to present them on in mass media. They are decent, they're good, but it's not that hard to sort of put them back where they belong. But unfortunately, this is not going to happen with the Ukrainian army in its current incarnation. Now let's actually look what's going on in Bahmut. It's in agony, slowly dying. As I said before, Wagner mercenaries, they are themselves exhausted. That's sort of like their last hurrah before they will be pulled from the front line. As at large. There will be smaller sort of filler units still remain on the front line, but they will be pulled out for sort of refitting and so on. And so ideological indoctrination. How about that's probably better. And by the way, this is very interesting analogy because they are becoming more and more like SS in Nazi Germany and NKVD in the Soviet Union. You can pick whichever you want. Probably, I would say, closer to SS in general. In many, there's so many parallels that it's actually amazing. That's all I can say. Anyway, so they sort of leaving soon, but before that they need to squeeze out Ukrainian troops from Bahmut, which so far they made progress in Bahmut as well, successfully pushing Ukrainian troops. They essentially captured this non-ferrous smelting plant in the north of Bahmut. They made huge progress here, and that's actually the most dangerous. This area. This is actually where that famous airplane is in this area. So they essentially captured that area, or close to be capturing that area, and essentially it looks like defenses are collapsing of Ukrainian forces in the core of Bakhmut. The reason being is not so much soldiers or losses as the paralysis of the supply. Essentially, this is what I said before, that this will fall not because of the sort of straight military victory, but because there will be shortage of oxygen, and this will suffocate Ukrainian troops, which is exactly what is happening. And because the road, essentially, I'm showing this road that was sort of original main road, but it's essentially not usable. This is basically field, like you just go through the field. And on this topic, I just want to say that that's another big, huge problem, that majority of the Western equipment is wheeled, not tracked. And I'm talking like M113. That's okay. That's exception, and Bradley, but in general, like the rest of it, and what Ukrainian army was buying as well, like from Turkey and stuff, it's all wheeled, and it's terribly unfitted for the terrain, for Ukrainian sort of environment, and for Russian, for that matter, as well. Which is very interesting that all of the lessons of World War II were basically forgotten, lost, and basically we're gonna starting from scratch as a whole. But so there is acute shortage, as I said before, of not shortage, absence of what used to be during World War II assault guns, especially like German ones, because they sort of pioneered that type of weapon. So there's definitely something that's absolutely missing on the battlefield and absolutely needed. So basically the difference between the need and how and sort of utility of it is huge. Basically, the potential of this kind of weapon on the front line is, as I said, huge for the both sides, and also for the IFVs. That's also another huge item that's in high demand, and there is a shortage of it on both sides. And the other side is that they are of horrific, let's say, quality by design. Like all of this Soviet BMP-1, BMP-2, that's disaster. It's a tool for suicide in a very painful way. Nevertheless, because of the shortages, that's what both sides are using actively. So again, this is agony. I don't know how long it will last. Maybe day, maybe two, maybe the Ukrainian side managed to pull another 5 days, or even 7 or 10. But this is essentially done deal here, unless again something happens with Wagner mercenaries, and they again will not be receiving shells in relatively large quantities, or something along those lines. But so far, they will be allowed to score this goal by the Russian military. Now let's. This is just kind of like how everything progressed, right? So this is now. This is how it used to be on March 10th. So you can see clear deterioration here. While before March 10th, there was not so much of deterioration, as you can see from February 27th. Was fairly actually stable, even from February 25, 23 is when I started really moving in the wrong direction, or let's say between those dates. So this is what's going on there. This is just a quick update here. Uh, as I said, this southern flank is being held by 3rd Brigade and 93rd, and that's was huge help uh, because it helped to basically prevent encirclement, and essentially at this point Russian side is really focusing on squeezing. They abandoned it looks like idea of encirclement here. Now let's move south. Let's see what's going on central Donbass front line. Things here are a little bit developing, also not great for Ukrainian side. Regular Russian troops managed to capture village Krasnogorivka here, like straight on the western side of this road that goes here. That's obviously making situation in Avdiyivka worse. It's not critical, but again, it's similar to Zaliznyanske. It's a small step in the right direction for the Russian side. So this, have to be said that this is first, victory by the regular Russian army, and so they can you can sometimes they can do some they can achieve something, let's put this way. Otherwise the attacks here and more towards south, there's really not much going on. I mean, in terms of the achievements, in terms of the attacks, there's always a lot of bloody attacks here. Now let's actually look at Zaporizhya front line. Looks like there is some activity here again. This time there was a Ukrainian probing attack towards Polohy that ended up totally disastrous in a disastrous way. Again, this is Soviet army doesn't really know how to do it right, and both Russian and Ukrainian armies, regular armies, doing suicidal attacks that don't lead to anywhere for the most part until they basically exhaust the other side, and basically it's a war of attrition. But as I said before, Ukraine cannot win in the war of attrition. It's basically suicidal path for Ukraine. But at the same time, there is no change towards quality from quantity, unfortunately, for Ukrainian side. So this is similar type of attacks that were on Kherson bridgehead, that were basically, didn't go anywhere until Russian side, if you remember, basically was paralyzed by lacks of supplies and then just abandoned it. So that's how the sort of military success was achieved there. Wasn't achieved because of the actual tactical achievements on the battlefield, but really more like a strategic destruction of logistical capabilities of the Russian army there. So again, so this reminds of those futile attacks on Kherson bridgehead that don't lead to anything except for high losses on Ukrainian side. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and till next time. Bye bye.